and continue to grow. They're still young. A lot of these guys are young, a lot of them out there, and we want those guys to continue to just be hungry and grow every week because we got to continue to get better each battle so we can win our war, which is trying to be national champions.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome in. Happy Friday, Maize and Blue Review. Good afternoon, Michigan football. I am Dennis Fithian. Right there was Michigan co-defensive coordinator Steve Clinkscale. How about Clink talking about winning a national championship? Thanks to mgoblue.com for the audio. That was this week. Clink met the media and he was asked about making some plays, and there he is talking about fine-tuning some things and winning a national championship. And in other years, at other times, you'd think, maybe you just hang on a little bit, or what's the tap the brakes? Maybe the coaches, there's no tap of the brakes, which, you're a Michigan fan. I think, talking about winning it all at this point right now, it's I like it. I like the talk. I don't always like the talk. I like the talk right now from Clink. From Michigan. And Clinkscale, the first time that I listened to one of his news conferences, I said, I like listening to Clink. He's a fun guy to listen to, and he's a very good coach. And you could tell why players like to play for him. You listen to him, it doesn't take long, man. He's getting fired up. He fires you up. Like, you're ready to run through a wall for him. You're ready to suit up and get out there. If that's how we say this, if I was some amazing athlete and I was at Michigan, I was sitting there on the bench and Clink was over there giving me a pep talk to go in, man, I'd be ready. I'd be running out there saying, let's go. So you can see that great personality, great coach. And, he's taking it on. Talking about Michigan winning. Well, it's fabulous to be here. It's great weather outside. I don't know, wherever you are watching or listening from. We've got this, is it a heat wave? Unseasonably warm weather. I used to call it, I don't know, it's an Indian summer, but whatever it is, 66 degrees outside right now in Southeast Michigan. I was looking at the weather report for Piscataway, New Jersey tomorrow, and they're going to have near record highs of 79 degrees. And Michigan and Rutgers are kicking off at 7:30. So they're saying 62 at night. So I don't know, but in the 60s, 65 degrees at kickoff, that'd be my guess, with an 11% chance of rain and 7-mile-per-hour winds. It could be a little bit cooler, but that's fine football weather. Let's just say perfect football weather for Michigan as they try to go out there and go to 9-0. What are we talking about today? Well, we've got a number of things. This is an interactive show where you can get in and you can ask a question. You can have an opinion, and you can answer a question that oftentimes we put up on the board. Like today, we asked the people, what does U of M need to do with the tunnel moving forward? I don't have to do anything for tomorrow because this game is in Piscataway, but next week, Nebraska, followed by Illinois. They'll be coming to the big house. Does Michigan need to do anything? Do they need to do something or nothing? I put it to you that way. Something or nothing. You can answer that question. You get another one or a point you want to make, go ahead. We'll get your stuff up on the screen and we'll talk about it. I'll give you my prediction on the game. I will start with talking about Michigan and Rutgers, but I do have something for you Uber Michigan fans out there to think about, whether, you got the holidays coming up, birthdays, or you just got somebody that loves the maize and blue. Maybe it's you in your life. Right now, great deal going on for the Maize and Blue Review, 50% off on your first year. You can get full access today. Use the promo code MBR1year. That's MBR1year. Go to michigan.rivals.com. And I'll see you on the den with the maize and blue. All right, tomorrow night it is a 7:30 kick, Michigan at Rutgers, and this game is going to be on the Big Ten Network. I do notice as I take a look at things that we have some breaking news. That's the breaking news sounder, and it has to do with the uniforms. A uniform update for tomorrow night comes from the Michigan football Twitter page. They have put the uniforms up in the color schemes that they will be breaking out tomorrow. The Twitter feed says the following: This weekend feels like a good time for a new jersey combination. Oh, okay. A little New Jersey combination. And they've got a white dot and a white dot. For the first time in 2022, Michigan will wear all white. All white. They've got some maize socks out there and blue shoes, but the uniform's all white with the maize socks. And I am all right with that. Like I say, I like all the uniforms that Michigan wears. All right, this was something I was looking through. I'm just doing some reading this morning. I put a bunch of stats up yesterday, but you're probably familiar. Stuart Mandel's been covering college football for 2 decades, and he writes currently for The Athletic. So he has a mailbag, and I was looking through his mailbag, and right there, he was talking about the Tennessee and Georgia game. It's an exciting game. I can't wait to watch that game myself tomorrow. Probably like a lot of you. You'll be watching that game tomorrow. But Mandel wrote, quote, points per drive may be the most telling offensive metric there is. All right, here's a college football writer in his mailbag declaring that the metric of points per drive maybe the most telling offensive metric that there is. So that got my interest. So I looked it up. Where does Michigan fit in to points per drive, the metric that, according to Mandel, is the most telling offensive metric there is? Well, Michigan's not doing too bad. Here are the leaders through week 9 in college football points per drive metric. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3, Michigan. 4, Tennessee. 5, Alabama. That's a hell of a list when you think about what's going on right now in college football. Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, Tennessee, Alabama. The leaders in college football points per drive metric, Michigan checks in at number 3. That sounds pretty good to me. They got a little room there to get to number 1. It was like yesterday when I was looking at the Big Ten's website, big10.org, and they had put there one of their bullet points that there are only 4 teams. They're into the top 10, both offensive and defensive scoring. And Michigan and Ohio State were 2 of them. It's like, all right, that's pretty good for Michigan too. That's a nice stat to know. This is a good one as well. I try to look at, you probably do this as well. When you are checking out a metric, you're like, okay, what's the formula? It's the where you start on offense, where you start on defense. They put a couple other different variables in there, and then you can kind of get lost as they're going through some of the other things and flip this around and put the square root. But however they do it, Michigan lands at 3, which is not too shabby. All right, I just want to get a feel where the people are sitting on this Friday as we get ready to go through it and talk about Michigan and Rutgers and some other things that are going out here in college football. As it is 66 degrees outside. Everybody looks like, it's a football Friday. People are in a good mood, waiting for tomorrow. Weather's great. Come on, let's go. I like, Michigan had the white dot and white dot to represent their uniforms. How about HMP, who is jumping in here, who has a maize dot followed by Go Blue, and then a blue dot. Very nicely done, HMP. Steven's just talking about winning, man. He's getting in. He's focused. What's going on? Winning the game tomorrow. That's what Steven, that's where his focus is here at 1:10 in the afternoon. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with having your game face on, Steven. The eve of a Michigan game. You know what I mean? Ooh, the captain bringing some negativity, or just he doesn't want to go to 2016 Iowa. 2016 Iowa was a game where Michigan was doing really well, and it wasn't a very good Iowa team, and they went out there and lost. And I can remember in the last, Spate got hurt, but it was one of those games. And Spate did get hurt, but the offense, the defense, and the special teams all let them down late. They all gave up plays. They all could have done something to win the game, and they all did something to lose the game. So, yeah, Captain, we're going to move on. Nothing against you, but we're going to go ahead and move on from that instant feedback pretty quick. Lyle talking about a little stretching of JJ's arm, and, I think stretching it out, stretching the defense, a little passing game. That'd be something that I think that, that if we're looking at what you'd like to see, if we were making a list, and, what do you want to see from Michigan tomorrow? A lot of people like to see them cash in the red zone, get more creative. I don't think that play calling is the problem. I was debating this in the Maize and Blue review on the Den when I said I didn't think play calling was a problem. Somebody came back and said they thought it was a consensus that play calling was a problem. And, hey, fans, everybody's going to have their opinion. And maybe all fans, since Michigan, they are struggling to score touchdowns in the red zone. So you could just say, well, that's play calling. And during the games, if people are like, I don't like that play call. There have been some play calls that I have not liked in the red zone. The first drive, I think it was the first drive. Actually, I wrote it down, so I'll look to know exactly. I'm going to say first drive, and I'm going to check myself. Where Michigan, they ended up kicking a field goal. Let's see, U of M's first red zone opportunity. They had a Corum run. They had a missed block with a wide receiver. He rolled out. The linebacker wasn't fooled. Yeah, it was the first drive. So it was 3rd and goal from the 8, and McCarthy threw to Ronnie Bell at the 5-yard line. But Ronnie Bell wasn't on the move. He turned around, kind of like a curl, just turned around, and McCarthy threw him the ball. And then he was tackled immediately. And after that, JJ was going, he was pointing like he was either saying, I want to go for it, which is possible, or he thought he had a first down. I don't know. I don't know why he would have thrown that ball. I don't know why they would have called a play where it's 3rd and goal from the 8, and you're throwing a 5-yard pass where the player is not on the move. Like, it's a very small chance that was going to work. So when you say play calling, I didn't like that play. I thought that was it was a whatever design. It was a poor decision by McCarthy. Whichever one of the offensive coordinators called that one in, and what if the part about you need 8 yards for a touchdown, you're going to have to kick a field goal. Let's not run a 5-yard out without the receiver being on the move. That's a bad play call. So, yeah, that play call I didn't like. Against Penn State on Michigan's second offensive series, they went down there. And I usually don't have much of a problem giving it to Blake Corum down there anywhere in the red zone. Corum's he's having a great season. He's up, he is a Heisman candidate. But Michigan came out in this jumbo set. They brought in an extra offensive lineman, and you're thinking, you know what? They look like, and Hayes and Trevor Keegan are their 2 best offensive linemen. At least that's how they're playing this year. And that's the left side of the line. And so if Michigan's going to look, and when they're like it's a 3rd and 1 or something, the majority of the time they are running over the left side. They're 2 best offensive linemen. So they brought in a jumbo package, a buffalo package, I think they call it. And they look like they're running all day right over the left. And that's what they did. They ran right over. It's like, you can run over to the left, but how about put somebody over to the right and give them some eye candy and make it look like you're going over there and then run it to the left? Michigan's like, boy, this looks like they're running to the left. Their personnel says they're running to the left, and they are running to the left. I didn't like that play call. So there have been some out there, but for the majority, when people say they want to get them more creative, I don't know if they want to get them more creative. I mean, they look like they're throwing the ball a lot over there. JJ against Michigan State, they had some designed runs. I like JJ running the ball. He looks really good, especially when he's not down on the red zone. He's been able to pick up first downs almost effortlessly. So I think that if they were talking to me about, hey, what do you want to see more in the red zone? What do you think about us calling some design plays, rolling JJ out? I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Well, they did that against Michigan State. Michigan State was able to, make those plays. I've seen people say they want to target the wide receivers more in the end zone. All right, throw some more fades, back shoulder throws. I mean, all these things. I have seen, this is an excuse, they haven't, but either you're getting it done or you're not. So always falling back to, well, if you execute, you got to your big time playmakers. McCarthy has got to make the plays. He's got to make the throws, and the wide receivers, they have to make the catch. I don't think it's coming down to a lack of creativity, a lack of the play calling, whether it's throwing or running. I've watched them all, and the majority of them, I think that's a pretty good play. So I don't think it's coming down to the design of the plays or a lack of creativity. They're doing that little throw pass ahead. They've done it a few times with Corum when they put him in motion. If you watch the pros, Andy Reid and the Chiefs, that's the kind of stuff that they do down on the goal line with Patrick Mahomes. Michigan is doing a lot of what the Chiefs do and Andy Reid does with Patrick Mahomes. It's very creative. So I don't buy that they're not being creative down on in the red zone. They also, you remember it was the Penn State game. They had Donovan Edwards out the left, and he went in motion. And before he went all the way in the motion, he just doubled back and he went out. And McCarthy missed him. He let him a little bit too much. Aaron Rodgers, when he had Devontae Adams with the Packers, they couldn't be stopped. That's what they ran all the time. They were running the Rodgers Adams down on the goal line with Donovan Edwards. Sounds like a great idea to me. Now, JJ missed him. So creativity or not throwing it or running it too much, that's not the problem. A throw here, like JJ, when I watched it on Saturday night, he had Schoonmaker right in the middle. And he threw it pretty hard at him, and you got to credit the one dude that ended up getting suspended, one of the 8 men out. Number 4 was a great position. He had his hand there, and he may have led. I couldn't tell from the angles that I was looking at. He may have led Schoonmaker too much. The Spartan defender may have tipped the ball. Looking back at it, he shouldn't have thrown that one. You got to throw a rocket, 6 yards away and wind up and throw it like that. Probably should have pump faked that one and tried to do something else. But again, that was throwing into the end zone. I like the idea of boxing out Schoonmaker, as a giant, getting him in there and boxing out a linebacker and having his hands out there and making a very inviting target. Good idea. But the defender was right there. And, in the end, so are we saying that wasn't creative enough? He was throwing the ball that, it just didn't work. I got to not execute. It's about making the plays. It's kind of like in basketball. If you're down 2 points with 2 seconds to go and you draw a play up and you get it to the guy that you want to shoot, your best 3-point shooter or one of your best 3-point shooters, and he's wide open and he shoots the shot. Is that a bad shot? No, it's a good shot, but you got to make it. You got to make shots. You got to make plays. It was like Wagner against UCLA. If you could have handed Franz Wagner the ball and said, you've got one shot at a 3 anywhere out of the court to go to the Final Four, where are you picking? Franz would have walked right to the very spot that he was, and he would have put the ball down and said, give me this shot. And he had it. And, as things would go, nobody was running at him. They threw it to him, and he was like, woo, I got it all day. Let me take a look. And then, he didn't make it. But it was a good shot, and it's one that you wanted. These have been good plays, but you got to make the shot. I'm not going to complain about the construction of the plays, the play calling. I'm going to complain about the players not catching the ball or not throwing the ball. That's my complaint. Third-minded says we all have to realize Michigan is number 5 because of their style of play. The committee does not want another embarrassing loss like last year to the SEC, like we do every time we play a powerhouse team. Yeah, the committee would like third-minded. They would like competitive semifinals. College football fans would like competitive semifinals. The way that has gone over the past 10, what have they been doing this? 8 or 9 years, and all of them almost have been blowouts. The semifinals, we usually have, a separation. There's been like one really good team, two really good teams, and the other ones just aren't ready to play. The thing that I think, if you're a Michigan fan, and you could admit it now, that last year, Michigan wasn't beating Georgia. If Michigan would have played Cincinnati in the semifinal like they should have, maybe. I think they could have beat Cincinnati. I would have picked them to beat Cincinnati. I believe they would have beat Cincinnati. But I don't believe that they were going to beat Georgia. Not on their best day. But this year, as I look at all the teams, I think that Michigan can beat Ohio State. They certainly can play with them. I'm not looking like, oh my God, there's no chance that Michigan's going to be able to beat Ohio State. No, they can go down and beat Ohio State. And they can go to the college football playoff, and they can play with Georgia or Alabama or whoever it is. They can play with them. So I'm not worried about a blowout. Third-minded doesn't like the All Whites. All right. I can't argue with you. I could tell you, like I told you. I mean, but I don't. But my hard stance with the uniforms is I like them all. Pretty easy, I guess. It's kind of like, it's like hamburgers, pretty much I like all hamburgers, send me to a hamburger place. I like it. Sure, there's some that I like a little bit better. Like, I like the home uniforms for Michigan. But, you give me 10, 20 different hamburger places, like, you know what? I like all those places. Let's go. Just like all the Michigan uniforms. Andres does not like Clemson. He thinks they would get embarrassed by any team in the top 5. Hell, they might embarrass themselves. Well, Andres, if they're that bad, maybe they'll lose to Notre Dame tomorrow. Or maybe they'll drop another one of their games that they have coming up. We won't have to worry about Clemson. Michigan is 5th because the committee still thinks it's 2018. Yeah, I don't there's nothing to get upset about with the committee and Michigan being number 5. I know people, look, I do it myself. I sit here and talk every day, and I've talked a lot about the selection committee this week. There's nothing to get your panties in a bunch about. There was nothing. In fact, the Michigan people that I have seen getting their panties in a bunch, I'm just like, get something else to get upset about. Like Michigan State. Something like that. All right, I'll get one more here, then we'll move on. Third-minded says you have to realize that the college football playoff, about ratings, nobody wants to watch a team running it 1,000 times because it does not work against the South, which all are very good against the run. You need to pass. Yeah, well, look, winning football is good football. If Michigan's, going in, the idea that, they can't beat Georgia or Alabama because they're great against the run and Michigan's going to have to be able to throw. That's the way it was against Clemson. Against Georgia last year. And Michigan is going to. We're getting way ahead of ourselves, but they are going to have to be able to put some points up on the board. They've got a better system this year to be able to do that. They've got some of those kind of receivers, and they've got a quarterback, and they are working towards that. Like, as nice as all the numbers and everything is, I think there's some truth to what third-minded said. At first I wanted to see it and say, oh, come on. There's some truth to that. Now, I tell you what, if they start scoring touchdowns in the red zone when they get down there, and they start completing some passes downfield, they're going to be putting up 55, 60 points a game against anybody. So bring it on. They're not that far off. from being a great offense. They are a very good offense right now. And being able to run the ball when other teams haven't really done it, and then you have to practice that, you better be tough enough. We'll find out. But yeah, they can go from a very good offense to a great offense, and part of that is going to be the passing game. All right, as we move it ahead here, this is a topic that has been running wild all week, really since Saturday night. It's the tunnel talk. And I want to say something to everybody that's watching here. And I put the question up on the board, and I asked you what Michigan can do ahead of their game against Nebraska and Illinois. Tunnel protocol. Should they do something? Should they do nothing? The question's out there for you. But I'm going to read a tweet from that was put up yesterday, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit. But when you really boil this down, with Michigan trying to do something, this comes down to the players and the coaches and the staff. You can't put these guys in bubble and walk them up, or you can't have lined armed guards in the tunnel waiting to jump on. Like, he's trying to think about how that stuff would work. Like, if somebody comes running up that shouldn't be, there's some things that you can do to help ease the situation. But when you say let's be honest, just let's look at it, and it's really about the players and the coaches and being able to walk 100 yards from the field to their locker room without losing control. That's what it's about. And there's a few people that can ruin it for everyone. I'll give you a quick story. When I was in grade school, at lunchtime, we used to be able to watch cartoons. Popeye. That's what we watched every day. I went to the same grade school for 7 years. I think we watched Popeye the Sailor Man for 7 years, and we loved it. But 1 year in 5th grade, the two guys in the back, they started throwing food, and the teacher shut the TV off and turned around and came in. When he came in, he saw the food was throwing, and he said, and there were only two guys, "We are not watching Popeye anymore for the rest of the year." And people are like, "Well, there's just these two guys." We told you, if there was any shenanigans, there would be no cartoons. And so for the rest of the year, there was no Popeye. We just had to sit there and eat our lunch. And we knew who to thank, the two guys in the back. Sometimes a couple people can ruin it for everyone. And the 8 Spartans, at least, ruined it for everyone. And a lot of people, and here's something that I got to yesterday, this tweet. Lynn Henning, you might not be familiar with Lynn Henning. Let me just tell you, Lynn Henning is a Michigan State guy. I've known Lynn Henning for, 20 years. I've talked not much about Michigan State with Lynn Henning, but I've talked a lot about the Tigers. I probably watched, 100 Tigers games when Lynn Henning was there at Comerica Park. So we talked a lot about the baseball team. And Lynn Henning, when I was, before I knew him, I used to read his stuff. And then even when I did know him, I was like, this guy's writing kind of like, very fancy, like maybe he's like Hemingway, or maybe he's like, he's like writing poetry. A lot of times I didn't understand what he was writing. He would write with these flowery terms, and I would always be like, I don't get what Lynn Henning. And I always thought it was a me problem. Like, Lynn's really smart, like Lynn's saying things that I just don't quite understand. But then I got older and I started reading Lynn Henning, and I just think Lynn doesn't make sense with a lot of things that he's writing, and people don't understand. He's not a very clear writer. And this is an example, and I like Lynn, but this is an example from Henning, who put this tweet up yesterday. He said, and I'm going to quote it, "Did not expect this. Spoke today with retired Secret Service agent. They were aware of Saturday night, which is more than revealing. They blame entirely University of Michigan police. Agents say failing to eliminate flashpoint tunnel after repeat warnings was misconduct. Now, this is really a piece of work when you deconstruct this. Because it's fine, it's good that Henning went out and he knows somebody that was with the Secret Service. But did he speak to multiple agents? Because he said he spoke today with retired Secret Service agent. They were aware. But the Secret Service was aware as a body, or was it just this agent? When he says they were aware of Saturday night, which is more than revealing, I got news for Lynn Henning. Everybody was aware of Saturday night. It was the annual Michigan State game. This is nonsensical. But then he goes on, they blame. Who's they? The entire Secret Service blames, or just the retired Secret Service agent that you talk with, Lynn? That doesn't make sense. Proofread your tweets if you're going to put it out there. And, you're this, this grand educator and writer that writes with all this flowery, columns and everything else. This doesn't make any sense. They blame entirely the Michigan police, the University of Michigan police. Agents, again, plural. He's lumping one guy, but this is what the agency stance is when it comes to flashpoints, because you have to eliminate a flashpoint. Tunnel, after repeat warnings, was misconduct. So misconduct by the Michigan police, the University of Michigan police. That is, you put this into the category of Henning hogwash. It's nonsensical. Can you imagine putting, I don't know how many university police are in the tunnel? Do you want to put, if there were 10? I don't know how many. They look like they're about 4 or 5. I don't know, between Michigan game day security and Michigan police. I don't know. Maybe those are they're the same thing. What it looks like, there's people that work in the sports information department and they just wear like maize coats, and then they're out there like, okay, I don't know. I don't know what the game day crew is all about there. But should they line police up inside the tunnel? And then what are they going to do? Like, what would they have done Saturday if they just saw Burroughs immediately, like, let's get this guy, grab him, and then escort him back out and wait till all the Michigan State players? That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what were they going to do? Taser him or something? Like, sure enough, like if one of the guys was coming up and you saw like 4 or 5 people surrounding him, should the police have jumped in? Yeah, there could have been something there. I mean, Lynn Henning's acting like, this was some presidential delegation that they're leading through Baghdad or something like this, that you have to be like, what are you thinking about? This is a football game. It is on the players and it's on the coaches. So I don't know, like, that just is somewhat ridiculous. But then here's the question. What does U of M need to do with the Lloyd Carr Tunnel moving forward? A, nothing. B, something. I'm very interested to see what people are saying, if we do have any feedback about this particular question. Let me get to it. A lot of there's a lot of feedback, which is good. We got a lot of people that watch the show and want to get all that feedback up there. Sometimes it's hard to get them all in there, but this specific question, I am now looking. Michigan needs a big body, red zone, all execution. Here we go. Here's some stuff. I thought they were saying get AJ Henning in, but they're talking about Lynn Henning. Lynn Henning or AJ Henning? Who's your favorite Henning? I'll go with AJ. David says Henning is a Michigan hater. Now, Lynn is a Michigan State guy, and so he is going to be, put in that box, that, Comparoni Valente beard box, couch box, and maybe he does deserve to be right in there, with the rest of those biased Spartans. Jason says Henning needs to give his phone back to his parents. A. Let me see what A is. Nothing. Michigan needs to do nothing. Jason, A. 100% A. Michigan needs to do nothing. The punters, A. Michigan needs to do nothing. What does Michigan need to do with the tunnel moving forward? So far, 3 responders all have said nothing. Jeffrey says, has dude watched a Michigan State game in the last 15 years? The entire game is a flashpoint. This is a few individuals ruining it for everyone. This is a few individuals that will not allow us to all watch Popeye the Sailor Man anymore. Chris is saying we might lose out on recruits because kids want to come where teams throw the ball down the field. All right, Chris, I'm going to talk about that. And I've been talking about the tunnel here, but here's the thing, the recruiting's important. You got to get the recruits. You got to get everything. In this particular season right now, I am most interested in Michigan winning football games. I'm interested in Michigan winning tomorrow. I'm interested in beating Nebraska, Illinois, and Ohio State, winning the Big Ten, and going to the college football playoff. And if Jim Harbaugh, even though I would like to see more downfield passing, even though I would like to see the lid taken off of the defense and McCarthy being able to, to do everything. I would like Michigan to be able to do everything. When I watch the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, he throws the ball a million miles. When I see Patrick Mahomes running around, I like the idea of being able to have a vertical passing game. But I'm going to take a step back. Not everything. Like, I'm not going to get worried if a recruit's looking at Michigan winning all these games and being like, I don't want to go to Michigan because I'm okay. Bye. Let's not get too worried about recruiting that way. Let's worry about winning. Now, look, you can do both. So I'm not saying that Michigan just has to be ground and pound, although that is their identity, obviously. Ringo, A. Going back to our question, if you're just joining us, what does Michigan need to do with the tunnel moving forward? Everyone is saying nothing. Nothing. Andres, they need a new SOP for halftime and end of game. What's SOP stand for? Strategic Operating Procedure? Is that my guess? I don't know. That sounds a strategic operation procedure. Is that the acronym, Andres? Let me know. Antoine, nothing but prosecute the guy that's swinging the helmet. Tunnel is not the problem. Apologize for cursing. What did I say? D original doesn't think we should play Michigan State anymore. This is not a rivalry. What are we, up by 40? Rather have Notre Dame. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't work like that. There are a lot of people. I'm not saying you're saying something that is, there's a lot of people that agree with you. Like, this is nasty and filthy. And, that's just talking about some of the radio hosts in Detroit. Talking about the game. It's, it's downright nasty. And people are like, I just don't enjoy it anymore. The way things work, and I know you know this, is that my 70-year-old mother-in-law this week is sharing tunnel videos and having discussions with her friends about what, they could do to, avert any kind of situations like this in the future. What that says to you is that we all watch the game anyways. You know who else is watching the game next year when it's up in Michigan State? Everyone is going to be watching the game. Everyone in college football is going to see what happens on the field. Every single camera. It's going to be the highest rated, I would guess, the highest rated Michigan State football game ever. It doesn't matter if Michigan State hasn't won a game. Maybe they won't, considering all the defections and what's going on with the team. Maybe nobody's coming except Tuck. Maybe everybody's leaving. But it will still, regardless of what kind of a team that Mel Tucker fields next year up at Spartan Stadium, everybody's going to be watching it. And it's going to be played at Spartan Stadium. And there'll be a million people. There'll be more interest in this game nationally than ever. It would be like both teams are undefeated. It would be like, Michigan State was a really popular team. It would be like they had national appeal. They've got appeal. Kind of like that Jeffrey Dahmer Netflix show that's on right now. Eat your heart out. All right. Here's the only problem with saying nothing. I think there's a lot of Michigan fans that are saying nothing because it means that they would be admitting, like, hey, we are part of this. And to me, that's not true. Like, sure enough, those two players went up in the tunnel, but so what? You can have a fight, but when you get 3 or 4 on one and you get, weapons involved, that's obviously crossed the line. But here's the thing. Michigan already has done something. After the Penn State game, like I was already talking about, hey, you know what? They should put blinders up and, that would be one thing that they could do. I was a proponent of that after the Penn State game because you know why? It helps ease any of the tensions over there. Everybody's like, no, we're not going to do anything. Okay. But you know what? You know what they did? If you watch the game, Molly McGrath at halftime, you remember when she talked about, I'll paraphrase it because I didn't see it exactly, when she said, I talked to Mel Tucker and they said they can't guard our wide receivers. And then Michigan completely shut them down in the second half. Everybody remember that? You know what else she said? Michigan had, quote, beefed up security after what had happened with Penn State. So Michigan already has done something. They thought that there could have been issues because of the last game. They had more people. I don't know how many more. McGrath, who's a reporter, said that Michigan had beefed up. I don't know, beefing up. They had added security. They had looked at their protocols. So they should look at what's going on. Usually, he's a total Michigan man. And, you can say he's really one-sided towards the maize and blue. And I wouldn't disagree with that, but he seems like a pretty smart guy. I'm talking about John U. Bacon. He put a bunch of tweets out. He said it was his final statement on the tunnel. And he had gone through the math of how many football games have been played over the last 100 years and how many players with, going down pregame and halftime and then back. And, so like 7,000 games and all this. And these are the only two instances. And that's what a lot of Michigan fans have said. There's been 100 years and nothing's happened. And now we have 2 instances and now they want us to change everything. All right, that is a point. Where Bacon kind of slipped up was when he was like, he wanted to put a tarp over the entrance where the guy reached over and grabbed Tucker, which everybody, knows you can't do that. But they've been playing games and no fan has ever reached over and grabbed another player. And now, Bacon, but from that one instance, he wants to tarp it over. Sometimes 1 or 2 people, in this case, 8 men out from the Spartans and 1 Michigan fan reaching over, they can ruin it for everyone. So my suggestion is, and it's low cost and it would really help, you put a dividing curtain at the half and at the end of the game. And what this helps is, like right now, what they're going to have to do is put pretty much whatever this beefed up security, they're going to have to put a ton of security because 2 players got by the security last time. This time, nobody goes in until the other team is out and they get the okay. And that sounds like a great idea, but you only have a limited of time at halftime, whatever it is, 17 minutes. And so now you're talking about an extra minute, maybe extra 2 minutes, but everybody's like, hang on. And maybe that team is going to decide to drag ass a little, whatever. At halftime, it's important. After the game, maybe you can, stay out. Maybe you don't have to have it thinking about it after the game because why do you need to get into the tunnel afterwards? The bathroom. They've got some porta-johns out there. I know those aren't the most fun things to use, but sometimes an emergency is an emergency. But if you had the dividers, the teams could go up, Spartans to the left, Wolverines to the right, and you can go up immediately. You could have a security guard sitting there at the end. This way, Buckeye or Spartan, Wolverine, Spartan, pretty easy. It would eliminate it. Low cost, very easy, no problem. Michigan fans, I put this to the test on the Den. Everybody hated it. It's like they're admitting that, there's a problem, not addressing, Michigan State, not addressing Penn State, it's the coaches, it's the players, it's been 100 years, which are all points. But again, Michigan already has made a change with beefed up security, and they're going to make another change probably with more beefed up security. You don't really need all of that. Put a divider up there. Somebody was trying to challenge me about the width of the tunnel and just how I've been over that tunnel 100 times. You could put a divider there. This is about paper thin. Zip. I'm not saying it needs to be a permanent, you can, when Michigan's all coming down to take the field, they don't have to, have the divider there yet. They're then halftime and at the end of the game. What's the problem? They're already have made a move. It doesn't mean if you do something to help a problem that you're admitting guilt. And again, don't worry about, those dirty smart. Look, they made the mistake. It doesn't mean that you're admitting anything except that times are changing and that a few people can ruin it for everyone. All right. That's what I think about the tunnel. Here's my prediction on the game. Michigan is a 26-point favorite and over and under of 45. I have this game after everything considered. I looked at all the depth charts, analyzed it, went back and forth, red zone, Harbaugh keeping his foot on the gas for style points for the college football selection committee and everything else. I have Michigan winning this game 38-13. I understand that if you add 26 and 13, that I'm saying take Rutgers in the points if you're gambling. If you're a gambler, you're smarter than me anyways. I'm just telling you what I think it's going to be. The one I do like is that over 45. Like if you were thinking about, I just got to gamble on this game. I just love gambling. I'd say take the over. But I like Rutgers plus 26 and over the 45. That is how I am looking at the game. Don't forget, you got something for the Uber Michigan fan. You want something, you get to michigan.rivals.com. You get full access today for the Maize and Blue review, 50% off your first year. Use the promo code MBR1year. That's MBR1year. Go to michigan.rivals.com. All right. Let's see. We'll get a couple in here. Not you, Dennis. I cursed. Sorry. Oh, sorry. It happens. Even though it says clean here. Although, I don't know if it's funny or not. And the new, YouTube and everything else, it was last year. It was, I know this is a sore spot right now bringing it up too, because it kind of conflates, the tunnel and the Spartans bringing up Juwan Howard last year at Wisconsin. But I'm bringing it up for a different reason. Juwan Howard, whatever they had the audio of what he said to guard. It wasn't go blank yourself, but it was like bull blank or something like that. And so I was just repeating what either guard. I'd have to go back and my memory is a little scattered on the situation. But before they got to the tunnel or before they got to the handshake line, oh boy. Guard had said, I wanted to do this. And I think it was Howard who said bull blank. And so I was repeating what he had to say. But then I saw in the days ahead that my YouTube got taken down because of inflammatory comments. And I'm like, well, what am I saying? Oh, I cursed. But actually I was just reading. It was part of the news. But I should have said bull blank. Standard operating procedure, SOP. Thank you. What did I call it? Strategic. That was close. Sort of worked. Right? Give it to me. I turned down a grilled cheese sandwich with soup for this. The wife is laughing at me. Well, Jason, peanut butter and jelly, grilled cheese and soup. I mean, tomato soup. There's some great combinations out there. I'm right with you on that one. Maize and blue, grilled cheese and tomato, peanut butter and jelly. Great combinations. Well, yeah, some of the stuff. Yeah, I started it, so nobody wants to do anything with the tunnel. Just leave it alone. Chris, leave it alone. Chris, what should we do, though? You tell me, leave the tunnel alone. Okay, I'm not even talking about that anymore, but you want Michigan to throw the ball more because of recruiting, and there's going to be receivers and maybe a quarterbacks that look at this and like, I don't want to go to Michigan and run some 1970s offense. So what's the solution? Win all their games. That would be one for me. And I think, you know what? You can sell. They want to win. But you want it all, right? You want to be able to win a national championship and attract every single recruit out there and bring in and have everything across the board. A stadium, the tradition, the uniforms, NOI money. And yeah, the ability to go out and catch a lot of passes so you can go to the NFL. I do think, let me say, like, there's one side of me that, like, yeah, Michigan is ground and pound. That's their identity. That's how they want to beat teams. And, JJ, a little bit of a game manager because they're not throwing into a cover two downfield into some, they'll have three across the board shell, and they're not just taking it and throwing it down there because they're saying, we're going to make Michigan beat us up front. And JJ's got a quick release, and they've just been popping these, and that's all good. I do think the Rutgers had both of their safeties in the box last year. If they put 9 people in the box, and you've got Cornelius Johnson and Roman Wilson and Ronnie Bell in the slot, or Wilson in the slot, Michigan is going to be throwing the ball deep. They're going to take their shots deep. I'm guessing, I'd say hoping, but I am guessing that Michigan takes at least 4 shots of 30 yards or more, traveling. They're going to throw at least 4 bombs. And so people can say, look, I like it. I like bombs. I like bombs too. Drop some bombs on the Scarlet Knights in Piscataway. That's what I'm looking at. It's good to have Chris on here. Chris is worried about recruiting, and Michigan needs to throw the ball a little bit more. Some of these, I'm over talking about, swearing. Some of these I can't really put up on the board. So what happens when you get into a nasty rivalry and you start talking about that? Right, Coach? This has been created as a distraction. Focus. DB, I'm with you. Account 22. All right. Hey, it's great to have everybody on here. I could sit here and I could read comments for the next 2 hours. I appreciate everybody joining us here today. And this reminder, tomorrow after the game, it's a late game, but I'll be on after the game on this very channel talking about, with former Wolverine Jim Scarcelli, talking about what transpired in Piscataway. Will Michigan throw the ball deep 4 times? Will they cash in touchdowns in the red zone? Will they win 52-3 like account 22 is saying? We'll be here tomorrow, and we'll discuss it all tomorrow after the game. 5 minutes after the game, right around there, we're here. And as you know, if it's a little bit too late, you wake up Sunday morning, you're like, I want Michigan talk. Well, just go to it's on a podcast. It is on YouTube. It's all available there for you. So enjoy it until tomorrow night after the game. Dennis Fithian signing off. Thanks for watching, and see